Do you ever get that strange feeling of vujade? Not deja vu, but vujade. It's the distinct sense that somehow something that just happened that's never happened before. Nothing seems familiar, and then suddenly the feeling is gone. Vujade. Vujade. It's little George Carlin. 1689. Talking about the Bill of Rights here. We're going to get to the heart of what is natural law. Both the Colorado and the American Constitution provides that we have not just our constitutional rights, but we also have natural rights. All of our natural rights are protected by the Constitution. It's just not spelled out. Right? The Ninth Amendment, the enumerated clause. So it's just because they had codified some of the damn rights doesn't mean that they codified others. And just because they didn't etch it in the stone, codify, just because they didn't put the freedoms into law doesn't mean that you don't have those freedoms. Which actually, that's what the current Supreme Court is saying. Well, they didn't write it down, so it's not. Well, we have natural laws, natural rights. And, laws and rights are the opposites. But rights. Here's 12 freedoms from the English Bill of Rights, the 1689 English Bill of Rights. The right to free speech. For the elected members of Parliament, they had a right to free speech. No standing armies during peacetime. Number 3, excessive bail and fines banned. Cruel and unusual and illegal punishments banned. The right to petition the king. The right to elected representatives, i.e. elections for the members of Parliament. The individual right to bear arms for self-defense. And fucking Catholics want to have guns. How come the Protestants weren't allowed to have guns? The right to Parliament's consent. The king can't do anything without Parliament's consent. The freedom from the Catholic Church Reich and the king's arbitrary whims, specifically the Court of the Commissioners for Ecclesiastical Causes and the Court of King's Bench. That's a terrible fucking name. The Court of King's Bench was fucking people over in England. This is, the royalists, the right-wing Catholic Commissioners for Ecclesiastical Causes. What was that court up to? Hey, we're a commissioner of the county or something? No, for ecclesiastical causes. Get the fuck out of here. What, it's Jehovah's Witnesses? Is that what you're trying? Freedom from royal interference with the law. Right to spend taxes on Parliament's projects. So again, basically they're saying they have a right to Parliament. They have a right to Parliament. We have a right to have Parliament. Which means we have a right to have elected representatives. And then those elected representatives are to be heard. The king, gets to do what they want, but not really. They can't do whatever they want. This is William and Mary. This is James II is going to be deposed, and William and Mary of Orange. William and Mary of Purple. No, not purple. Green? No, of orange. Oh, okay. Freedom from taxation by royal prerogative without the agreement of Parliament. So Parliament gets to spend their taxes, pass the laws. The king can't interfere. We also get a right to a fair and impartial jury trial. Oh my God. This 1689 English Bill of Rights really lives up to its name. We're going to see the, America's Bill of Rights, 1791. The Constitution was 1788, 89, and then 1791. So over 100 years later, we're going to see the American Bill of Rights added on to the Constitution. They forgot it. Oops. Whoops. Well, we just fought that revolution. Didn't we fight a revolution for a Bill of Rights? What Bill of Rights? The one that you were promising. You said the no taxation without representation, all that. Come on, George. King George, no. Well, President George. Which George are we talking about? Washington? Or King George III? Does King George III have a last name? Yes. Buchanan. George Buchanan. We have freedom from soldiers being quartered. Soldiers being quartered up in their homes and being banned. The right to a fair and impartial jury trial. And freedom from fines and forfeitures. without a trial, before a trial. So freedom from land thieves via corrupt court, before a trial. We're going to go ahead and just take all this. Huh. Is that why you all... Oh, I see. A corrupt court to steal the land. I see. All of which are utterly and directly contrary. Utterly and directly contrary to the known laws and statutes and freedom of this realm. This is... William and Mary basically is like, look, English people, we know that you love your rights. We know that you love your freedoms. So, William and Mary says we're going to fucking, throw that James II out in the goddamn sewers. Throw him out in the yesterday's trash. Put him in the damn garbage disposal. Go ahead and flush him on down through the annals of history. The annals, the dustbin of history. The succession of the throne would be passed to Mary's sister, Princess Anne of Denmark, and her heirs, then to any heirs of William by a later marriage. So no more Roman Catholics. They can't be king or queen no more. So the Catholics lost, and the Protestants were victorious. Thank God. Thank God the Protestants beat the Catholics. Catholics, they think that we're the prim and proper. They think they're the main Christians. They think they're the captain of all the Christians. English Bill of Rights, I think, earns its place in world history. It's worthy of carrying the name of English Bill of Rights. You only get that once, right? You only have one English, and actually they still talk about the English Bill of Rights. Well, it's assumed. The Constitution's not written down, but we assume the Magna Carta and the Bill of Rights, and that's it. That's all in goddamn world history. England's only accomplished the Magna Carta and fucking English Bill of Rights, 1689 and 1215. 1215 was the Magna Carta. 1689 is the Bill of Rights. Parliament should be summoned frequently. Divers is a collective term used to group a number of unspecified people, objects, or acts. It is used frequently to describe property, as in divers parcels of land. I think a different way to figure out natural law, you could probably figure it out by common sense through reason and logic, which is actually the heart of natural law. Locke had some shit about natural law. I don't know, Aquinas or something. Hobbes. I like Hobbes a lot. And I'm going to get to Hobbes here in a second. But here, let's just reread the 12 rights. What can we ascertain? What are the rights that we got, in our American Constitution? The right to free speech. We see that. We see that excessive bail and fines, cruel and unusual punishments are banned. The right to petition is in our Bill of Rights. The right to elected representatives, the individual right to bear arms for self-defense is there. The right to Parliament's consent, the right to a Parliament, the right to a Congress, elected representatives, the freedom from the Catholic Church Reich, the freedom from the king's arbitrary whims. Yep, got rid of the royalist, got rid of the, religion and government is one. Right to spend taxes on Parliament's projects. Freedom from taxation by royal prerogative. So again, get away from the tyrant, get away from the autocrat, get away from the monarch. Soldiers being quartered or banned. That's the Third Amendment. The right to a fair and impartial jury trial. Sixth Amendment, Seventh Amendment, the freedom of fines and forfeiture before trial. Freedom from fines. Yeah, they were trying to take people's land before. So a right to a fair and impartial, a speedy and public. Eventually, the jury trial is going to turn into a right to a speedy and public jury trial. So that's a lot of shit. That's a lot of shit that William and Mary came in and said, okay, yeah, we're from Orange, so we're not from around here, but we're going to kick out your king. But in exchange, we're going to give you, the people, all these freedoms and rights. And frankly, they acknowledge that it's contrary to the known laws and statutes and freedom of this realm. So the English fucking had a whole thing of, laws and judges and shit. King Henry VIII. And so King Charles I lost his head, right, 1649. And then 1789, when James Madison, we'll get back to Hobbes, but Hobbes has a whole bunch of stuff here. The first law of nature, the right to defend yourself. So what I'm doing is I'm going to combine the two, because Hobbes, He's going to write the laws of nature in 1651, the Leviathan. The laws of nature are in the Leviathan. So 1651 is actually, about 40 years prior to 1689. So I'm just kind of taking the conservative. You have the Protestant, which is the new way, these Bill of Rights. What is this? Individual freedoms for individual. The lowly peasant commoner has individual freedoms. That's what William and Mary says. And then 40 years prior, because you just had his beloved Charles I got his head chopped off, and so Hobbes is like, but we needed a good monarch. Why? Because the laws of nature dictate that we need a good monarch. So it's kind of crazy. The laws of nature, the monarch always says that they got the divine right of kings, and the natural law is actually, the founders are going to use that as opposed to the divine right of kings. But Hobbes combines the two somehow, magically. Because the first law of nature is you have a right to defend yourself, to be as peaceful for as long as you can, and then war. So, violence is the last option. So have you exhausted all other options? Because you have a right to defend yourself. And as a nation, that's called revolution. The second law of nature, social contract with a Leviathan Commonwealth nation state. So the laws of nature isn't specifically laws that come out of the wildness of nature, but the laws of nature, they come from common sense, because is man not a part of nature? So the laws of nature would include man, and if man is reasonable and rational, then therefore we can figure out what natural laws we can live by. So therefore, the second law is we can engage in a social contract with an all-powerful Leviathan in order to safeguard our liberties and welfare, common defense, justice. So it's a pretty huge, it's like, well, the first law of nature is self-defense, of course. You gotta fight lions and tigers and bears. If they attack you, you gotta defend yourself. The second law of nature, the right to a social contract with a nation state. Right. With the lions and tigers and bears. That's rational, man. So the second law of nature says we're going to be rational, and then he lists a whole bunch of... He does it in a particular way. I think it's all in Latin, and he knew some Greek laws, and he says, basically, he's just name-calling. He's just name-calling. He said, and then if you give a mean face to others, well, that's just being contumely. And I wonder if that is part of it, right? Just label people. That's a rude son of a bitch. You want to go around giving the mean mug to people? Well, that's a rude son of a bitch. But in a way, his logic is 100% because he's saying that, let's assume that law can not legislate morality, but can get man on the right track to morality. Law can get man to the right track to morality. And so, therefore, when it comes to the law of nature, is good not eternal? Is goodness not eternal? Is, peace, love, justice, tranquility, the common defense, welfare, are these not eternal values? So the law of nature, you can't legislate, immorality. You can't say that bad shit is legal. That goes against common sense. It goes against the reason and rationale of man. But the laws of nature, natural law tends to eternal law, and eternally, I am not allowed to go over there and take, attack, rape, murder another person's, life, liberty, property, house, home, security. I'm not allowed to do that. The laws of nature, no matter what, 100 years, 200 years, 300 years from now, it will never legislate criminal behavior. Criminality will always be not just wrong, but illegal. And another good thing about laws of nature and rights and freedoms, not only will it help, corruptible man be moral, but it also gives you an array of options. You have a Bill of Rights. You have a Bill of Rights. And so when you say, hey, that person over there is pissing me off, what does the laws of our nation suggest that you should do? That person over there is pissing me off. So, well, there's a number of things that you can do, right? Can you go quarter in his house? No, you cannot do that. You cannot go quarter in his house. But look at your freedoms. Look at your freedoms. Those say not only, don't go around doing criminal behavior, but here are legal ways to resist. Here are legal ways to, you could petition, you could protest, you could, use courts, file, use the system, do a bunch of things, right? Speak out, write a letter to the editor. So we'll get back to that, but I'm trying to figure out natural law. Hobbes just basically just says, here's fucking natural law, but I'm going to add the Bill of Rights, the English Bill of Rights, and Hobbes is, 19 natural laws, and I'm going to put them together, and then that's going to suggest what the natural laws are, but I wonder if I could actually probably, from combining those two, say, here are the, 20 or 30 natural laws which can't be fucked with. And so whenever people say, well, what the hell's a natural law? Well, here's, 20 or 30 natural laws that I got from the English Bill of Rights and Hobbes's laws of nature. I put them together, and here's your 25 natural laws, or whatever. We're going to find out. We don't know yet. We don't know yet. We've only got halfway. We figured out the English Bill of Rights.